As we approach the millennium, the power of our technology is awesome. But despite our vast ability to solve problems and build complex machines, there are many questions we still cannot answer. Ours is, in fact, a mysterious world, a vast landscape of compelling wonders. He wrote Chariots of the Gods.
Now author Eric von Daniken guides us through the search for ancient technology, including:
did our ancestors know how to fly thousands of years before the airplane was invented? A dangerous ritual honors the gods, but were these mythic gods or real beings from another world? How did our ancestors build incredible monuments that defy understanding even today? And genetic engineering. Is it possible we are just rediscovering a science observed thousands of years ago?
These and other mysteries in our search for ancient technology, next.
The idea of a primitive culture coming in contact with a more sophisticated culture, whether they are of this world or from another planet, is a very important concept. As history proves, the lower culture always tried to imitate the technology of the higher culture.
One especially impressive example of this phenomenon is the mystery of ancient flight. Is it possible our ancestors experienced air travel thousands of years before the invention of the airplane?
From ancient India to medieval Europe, the dream of flight has fascinated every culture on every continent throughout history. Human beings have gone to extraordinary lengths to conquer the skies. Not until the Wright brothers in 1903 did we finally succeed. Or is this just conventional wisdom? Some researchers now believe there may be clues in our distant past that could cast some doubt on aviation history as we know it.
In the jungles of Colombia, a baffling discovery raises the mysterious question: is it possible ancient cultures experienced real flight hundreds of years ago?
I have some strange objects here found in pre-Columbian tombs, dated about 800 to 600 before Christ. Archaeologists believe that these must be insects.
Perhaps a part of a pre-Inca cult which revered insects. But when closely examined, these figures don't look like insects at all. Insects have their wings on the top of their bodies. Here the wings are on the bottom. So what are these strange figures if they are not insects?
They look like airplanes. The amulets look like airplanes.
Bob Trelease is an expert in the study of early flight.
They have the shape, the physical structure. They have the elements that make an airplane as we recognize it today.
These ancient figures reminded Bob Trelease of a very specific plane.
When I saw the amulet, I immediately associated with the shape of the F-4D. The shape matched it.
The apparent resemblance between the modern combat jet and the ancient icon is striking. But could it just be a coincidence? When Bob Trelease noticed something else peculiar about the golden figures, he began to wonder what the reality was behind this mystery.
The curlicues looked like they could be an engineering representation of turbulent air over the leading edge of the wing.
Were our ancestors experimenting with real flights, or perhaps were they expressing some kind of mythology? Could it be both? One possible answer comes from anthropological discoveries made in the 20th century.
When one culture with a simple technology comes into contact with a second culture with a more complex technology, people often turn to religion.
Anthropologist Dr. Lamont Lindstrom offers one explanation for the existence of these figurines. It may be found in the anthropological concept known as cargo cult.
Cargo cult is a South Pacific example of a kind of religious movement that's happened almost every place in the world.
Life in the South Pacific prior to World War II was pre-industrial in its simplicity. There was no electricity. There were no roads and no radio. No contact with the outside world. Overnight, World War II brought amazing treasures from distant worlds to these remote islands. Airplanes descended from the sky and opened their doors. Out flowed a deluge of military equipment and technology, which the islanders had never seen before. To them, the radio was a wonder, a magical machine able to speak in many voices.
So people who had lived a very simple life for generations over a very short period of time experienced an incredible amount of new technology that just poured across the shore and came into their lives.
And then when the war ended, the cargo suddenly disappeared. Desperate to find some way to bring the cargo back, the islanders turned to prayer and religious ritual.
Much of the ritual of cargo cult attempts to try to attract the return of whoever controls the cargo. They did things like, in many islands, cut airstrips in the forest, in the jungles, hoping that the planes would land again. They built model planes. Sometimes these are small models, sometimes almost life-size models, and put these planes on the airfield as a kind of imitation, some device that will encourage the cargo planes to land.
Using the cargo cult theory, were these gold artifacts created by ancient Indians modeled after mysterious aircraft from long ago?
One way to examine this mystery was to see if the amulets were aerodynamically sound and might have been able to fly. Captain Peter Belding, a pilot and air traffic controller, built exact scale models of these icons out of molded plastic. Although it is unknown whether the amulets might represent powered aircraft or gliders, Captain Belding made them self-propelling. He attached a small prop motor to one, and in the other, he placed a turboprop engine. Now Captain Belding tests the more powerful turboprop model. The sight of these models in the sky raises intriguing questions about the icons on which they are based. The idea that they were copied from a working airplane in existence 800 years before the birth of Christ is very difficult to believe.
Could these tiny gold figurines be models of airplanes built by ancient people? Of course, but there is another possibility. I believe they are religious artifacts which were designed to honor extraterrestrial flying machines and lure these visitors back down to Earth. Here again, we have a case of so-called cargo cults, imitation cults. Pre-Columbian people saw something flying up there, so it had to do with the gods. They made these models, they covered them with gold, and today we found